Hey guys,
Hey,
we're popping in for a quickie.
a quickie, a true crime quickie, because we love it.
Yeah, yeah. And this is about the Menendez brothers. So they might get out of prison.
I know, that's exciting.
I also think it's exciting. Have you seen the rhetoric online that is not excited about it?
Oh, no, I haven't.
I am honestly astonished at how many people are not excited.
Really?
And I got into a possible tiny scuffle
Oh, a
with
feisty Torella. I
which
love it.
like why the fuck do I even try? But you know. So this guy in a true crime group that I'm in that is very prosecution favoring, which is
Okay, that's
fine.
fine. So,
Um
sometimes the prosecution does great work, you know?
exactly. This community seems to be prosecution favoring no matter what
Okay,
as a rule, but you know.
okay, that's fine.
That's still fine. Fine. That's what you want to do. All right. So this guy says something that appears to be a burgeoning true crime trend that I'm worried about with the popularity of true crime, elected prosecutors revisiting cases and trying to release murderers from prison because it's popular.
It's popular to put the murderers back out on the streets.
So popular. We're like, you know what we don't have enough of is murderers out on these streets. Let's get them out. Let's get them out
Also,
here.
do you know how much work that is for a prosecutor to just be like, meh, I don't have anything else to do today. You know what I'm gonna do? Undo everything I've already done.
It's literally goes against the fiber of their being, from what I understand, because prosecutors go for the W. When they get the W, they don't want to take away that W. Even if it wasn't their W, it was somebody else's W 30 years ago, they ain't getting that L on their record.
No. No, you don't want to. And I mean, that's not to say that if a new person came in and looked at it and was like, oh, we clearly messed this up, that they wouldn't, you
Hmm.
know, take up
Yeah.
the sword or
But
whatever.
in the true
But
crime world, that seems less common than you would think it would be.
it's a lot of work.
Right.
It's a lot of work and it's a lot of it's a lot of undoing and untangling, and not that it shouldn't happen. Like obviously there are times when it needs to, but
Hmm.
I mean it's a big undertaking
Yeah.
because you can't just go in and be like, whoopsies, because now people have been in jail, sometimes for a very, very, very long time, like the Menendez brothers, right? I absolutely, if they should be out of prison, I think they should be. But also think about what kind of life are they going to have now? Their entire, almost entire adult lives, for all intents and purposes, their entire adult lives have been spent in prison. So,
Eric's for sure, he was 18 when it happened.
yeah,
Lyle was 21. Yeah, I mean, for their
they
entire
were
lives have been in prison.
babies.
Yeah. And somebody commented on it first and said, or maybe looking at old cases with new information and in a lens of better understanding and realizing the new evidence being brought to their attention is enough for a new trial or resentencing, which is very logical. And this person said, new
Hmm.
evidence is one thing, a lens of better understanding. I'm not even sure what that means. A jury had understanding and did their work. A prosecutor looking for votes shouldn't undo their work. I'm like,
Okay. That feels like a conspiracy theorist. Does
uh-huh.
this person have a bunker somewhere? Are
I
they
think so.
stashing for
I
the
think so.
apocalypse? It'll be like what was the Brendan Fraser movie that I love? Blast from the Past.
Oh my
That's what he's
God.
preparing for.
Yes. Yeah. He's gonna come back out and be like, I don't know what this guy's going to be like. But so then I said, this is kind of the same perspective as saying that we shouldn't now have warnings on cigarettes or have children in car seats when we have a better understanding of the way things work, how they actually play, oh, how they actually take place. I can't even read my own. It's not even handwriting,
Words
it's
are
typing.
hard.
The effects they actually have when our science evolves. And then I put in parentheses, doctors used to believe that women's uteruses wandered around in their bodies. Imagine if we had never evolved past that, then
Some
we
of us
do
haven't.
better. Uh-huh. Some of us haven't. And then he said, I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. Did Adnan Syed get convicted for thinking uteruses wander around a body? If so, then by all means release him. I was
What
like,
does Adnan have to do with this? Are we just picking like popular? like wrongful convictions now and just like smashing them all in there?
Yeah, I was
What
like,
the heck?
tell me you
Okay.
missed the point without telling me you missed the point. I mean, seriously, like,
My
yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah. What I'm saying is these men were convicted because they thought uteruses wandered around the body. That's
Well,
exactly what I meant by that.
exactly. Oh my God.
But there are just a lot of people that are like, they were spoiled brats. They didn't care about anybody else. They just killed their parents for the money and like all this stuff. And it's really insane to me when I mean, there are still people that think that Amanda Knox killed Meredith Kercher when it's been proven the guy who killed her took a
Yeah.
shit in the toilet and left it there. Like this was a person that was not known to them, but he would break into houses and stuff like that. I don't know. But there are still
Yeah.
people that are like, well, she's guilty.
That's
Like,
crazy. That is
what? Like,
crazy.
no, I thought we knew that
She didn't do it.
I thought we
That's
knew
why
she
they
didn't do
let
it.
her out.
Yeah, like I don't know, it's insane.
Okay.
But
Well,
for those of you who do not know, the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Eric, were convicted of the murder of their parents in 1996. The killing happened in 1989. They were brutally shot. I mean, it was a brutal murder.
yeah.
There's no getting
Well,
around that.
no, it was. But you also think about their childhood.
You could
That was
call
pretty
that
brutal
brutal as well.
too.
Uh-huh. And they were arrested. They were tried once. It ended in a hung jury. And in that trial, the first trial, there were, to my recollection, 51 witnesses who corroborated their claims of abuse, whether it be physical or sexual. Many of those were family members on both sides of the Menendez family, Lyle, or I'm sorry, Jose and Kitty's side. Those are
Yeah.
the parents' names. They could not find one person to say a positive thing about Jose Menendez. Not one.
51 people that's an insane number of witnesses that are all giving consistent and corroborating
Hmm.
testimony.
And they were saying things like if, well, first of all, Jose Menendez would shower with the boys well into
Yeah.
their teens. And if they were, and he'd be like, I'm going to go help them take a shower. My youngest son is
Um,
6 years old. He doesn't need help taking a shower anymore. Like, I have to
yeah.
remind him to get out of the shower because he's playing, but like, I don't need to go in and, like,
Yeah.
so, and fine if you have a kid that age that needs help, like, that's fine. But these are teenagers, they don't need help. So he would
Yeah.
go in there. And the family, it was an understanding that if Jose was alone with the boys, you didn't go on the same floor that they were on, you didn't go near the room they were in, like all of those things. And I also saw an interview with their cousin and their aunt, and this was Kitty's sister, I believe. And she's like 93 years old now.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but they said that there would be times when they would either be over at their house or I don't know, all of them in the same place, whatever. Anyway, and Eric would come in and beg for a lemon and like beg for a lemon. I need a lemon. I need a lemon. He's desperate for this lemon. Sometimes it would be ketchup. It would either be a lemon or ketchup typically. And the aunt said, "Yeah, my husband thought he was just being a spoiled brat. He wanted a lemon because he wanted a lemon, whatever." Anyway, come to find out, years later, he wanted a lemon or ketchup to wash away the taste of his father's semen because he knew that
Oh
if
my
it was
God.
like a chaser and it would get rid of the taste because he didn't like the taste. And like they're like, we didn't know, but he
Yeah.
was desperate for these things. It just like
Yeah.
it's insane.
And how
So
awful do they feel now knowing, like it's too much. It's too
yeah.
much.
Yeah. So that trial ended in a hung jury. The prosecution tried them again. And this time they were convicted, but I believe the reason is because none of the abuse was allowed in. None of it. None of those witnesses were allowed to testify in the second trial. They weren't allowed to talk about the abuse at all. It was
Why did they not allow it
completely
the second
taken
time?
away. Well, the judge ruled for whatever reason that it was inadmissible. I think it was because they all kind of had egg on their faces because there was a string of losses by the prosecution. This was in between that the
Gotcha.
O.J. Simpson trial happened.
Oh, yeah.
Rodney
I
King
gotcha.
happened. Like the whole thing
Yeah.
was all of these things were happening at the same time. And, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into that, but none of that was allowed in. And the attorneys for the boys, I say boys, everybody calls them the boys, and at that time they
Yeah.
were especially Leslie Abramson, which I believe was Eric's attorney, not Lyle's, but I could have that wrong. She's like a firecracker anyway, but she was very outspoken in the courtroom. She almost got held in contempt a few times, and she was like, "You are literally putting a gag over my mouth, and you're taking away my
Yeah.
entire defense." Like she was very
Yeah.
outspoken about it. And by this point, the prosecution was using the term abuse excuse. Abuse excuse.
Okay.
That really burns my fucking britches. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But at that time, there was also this men don't get sexually abused.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about the early 90s. What a
And
wild
it's
time.
what a wild fucking time. Yeah. Same time that when you were married, you couldn't be raped because it's your husband.
Right. Thank God we've evolved.
Thank God for
Some of
Miranda
us.
Bobbitt. She was a pioneer in that field.
She pioneered
But
a lot of fields, I
sure,
think.
I think she did, yeah. But so they were convicted and sentenced to life in prison at that point, and they've been in prison since then, so more than
Yes.
35 years. They have appealed, they've exhausted everything, and I think I read that in 2005 they'd exhausted all of those options.
Options.
So as of 2005, they were pretty well resigned to
This is
this is
it.
it. Like we're going to
Yeah.
spend the rest of our lives in prison. But they are now represented by Mark Garagos, who represented Scott Peterson,
That's
but he
right.
represents other like high profile
Yeah.
defendants. And they
We won't hold Scott
filed,
Peterson against him.
yeah, yeah. They filed that there are some new pieces of evidence that point to the abuse that they experienced by their father. One of those being a letter from Eric to his cousin in 1988. They were killed in 1989 that details the abuse. Now, his cousin testified in the first trial about having received this letter,
Right.
but for whatever reason, they either couldn't find the letter, I don't know, but they've ended up finding it, and it's in Eric's handwriting, and they submitted
That.
that. And there's also an affidavit from one of the members of Menudo saying that Jose, because Jose was a record executive at that time.
Hmm.
And he, in his affidavit, says that Jose was abusing him as well. He was like
Oh.
a teenager, but that he would take him to the Menendez home to do it. So his home seemed to be his,
His safe space
hmm
for this activity.
yeah,
No one else's safe space.
no one else's safe space. No. Um,
Ugh.
yeah. So the defense attorneys in the state have been meeting, and the prosecutor, I don't know how to say his last name, is Gascon, and it has the little like over the O. Is it Gaston? Gascon?
Let's
Gascon?
call him Gaston.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, all
Yeah,
I can think
I
of is
like that.
Gaston. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he eats 500 eggs a day, is what he said, or something like that.
Well,
So, you know.
yeah. He's a
Um,
big, strong boy.
Big strong point. But he said like he met with them, and the family was really pushing for resentencing. Again, everybody agrees they committed a crime.
Yeah.
The Menendez brothers agree that they committed a crime.
Yeah.
It didn't have to, it maybe didn't have to be that way.
I mean,
But
maybe it didn't have to be that way, but their childhood didn't have to be that way either, you know?
mhm,
And their mother could have done something about it, and she did nothing.
she did nothing. Yep. Yep. And if what they say is true about the days leading up to their parents' murder, um, she not only knew and didn't do anything about it, but she seemed totally fine with it. Like the way that she talked about it,
Yeah.
according to them, was, "What do you think? I'm stupid? Of course I knew what was happening." And
That's
they're just like,
insane.
"Ugh, oh my God."
It's one thing to think that one of your parents is doing this and your other parent doesn't know, and that's why they're not helping you. Like it almost allows you to forgive them a little bit or give them
Yeah.
some grace. And for them to just then come forward and say, "Oh no, of course I knew," and I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, how gut-wrenching. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
is there anyone, the two people that are supposed to love me and protect me and take care of me, and they don't give a shit about me,
The f-
obviously.
right. The fact that they've been able to go on and they're both married and they've been married for a long
Yeah.
time. Um, the fact that they've been able to even do that, like, I think is incredible because like that wound. I mean, I think they've
Yeah.
done a lot of therapy.
How could
They've
you not? I mean,
Yeah.
goodness.
They've been what the prosecutor calls model prisoners. Um he
And that's because I don't think they're bad people. Like, you know what I mean? Like there you have like criminals in jail who are like that is who they are, that is their personality. And then you have people who end up in prison because they do things like this. They commit a crime, but it was very like it was a very specific crime. Like I don't think they're violent people. I don't think they're bad people. Like everything that happened was very out of character, I would say, for who they are. Now, given the
yeah.
circumstances, obviously,
Yeah.
that's different, but like just who they are as people, like I wouldn't expect them to have not been model citizens.
Right. They definitely were very remorseful and honestly, they actually did not disclose the abuse until it took a long time for them to actually talk about it because it was something
Yeah.
they never wanted to get out. They
Yeah.
never wanted other people to know about that.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even tell their lawyers about it for a really long time. And I think it was Eric's lawyer had hired a forensic psychologist to meet with him. And that doctor said it took months and months of talking to Eric before he would even admit that any of that was going on.
Yeah.
So, and he said it was that dichotomy because, and Eric even said in a phone interview, I think, he said, I hated the abuse, but on the other hand, it was the only time that I spent with my father where he loved me.
Yeah. That's
That's so
horrific.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, and, and Lyle being the older brother,
Mm-hmm.
and this came out on the stand in the first trial. He he admitted that he had taken Eric out into the woods before and touched him the way that his father had touched him.
Yeah.
And if you watch their testimony in the first trial, these things are coming out. Like at one point, like Lyle had said he wasn't going to talk about the abuse. He said, I'd rather spend the rest of my life in prison than have to soil my father's reputation. Their dad is
Yeah.
gone, but his reputation is still, it's been
Yeah.
ingrained in them. Like, it's just really sad. But watching him admit that, and then he says, I'm sorry on the stand to
Yeah.
Eric, and Eric is just, there's,
Yeah.
you can't fake that kind of emotion.
Yeah. No.
I don't. If you can, then you need a fucking Academy Award, and I don't
Yeah.
like,
That to me was one of the whole thing was heartbreaking. But for him to apologize to his brother to me was like, ugh, like
Mhm.
that was one of the more heartbreaking moments for me.
And that's also very telling of a child who's experienced sexual abuse. That
Yeah.
does happen.
Yeah.
Like, that does happen. They become more uh sexually exploratory or, or
Yeah.
they'll try stuff like at a very young age. They're
Yeah.
interested or thinking about that kind of stuff. Our kids don't even know what that is. Like,
Yeah.
they don't,
Yeah.
so it all, I think, all corroborates it. And the fact that that was completely removed from their ability to put on a defense, like that was not a fair trial.
Yeah. I would agree.
And
I would agree.
I don't think that they're just
But
spoiled
I will
brats.
say, like the letter thing, him being able to testify, not being able to testify about it the second time, that is a rule of evidence that I'm recalling. And it's making my brain hurt thinking about evidence.
Oh, like it's
The
a
rules of
thing.
evidence, yeah, yeah, you have to, what is it? In order to testify about a document, you have to have the
Have the
document.
document to reference or
Yeah.
something.
You don't have to admit it, but you have to have it or something. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
You guys, it's been so long since I did evidence. Please don't. There are attorneys out there listening to this right now that are like, she's the dumbest attorney I've ever met in my whole life. This isn't what I normally do, I promise, but I'm
she's not a criminal
recalling.
attorney.
Not
Yeah.
a criminal attorney. And this
Which
is why, if you ask me to be your criminal attorney, you'll go to jail. And I probably will too.
you'd be like, I think there's something about that, but I don't
Excuse
remember
me, Your
it.
Honor.
So,
Objection. This sounds, it doesn't feel right. The vibes are off.
yeah.
I
This
don't
is
know.
sounding vaguely familiar, and I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. No, but that is a thing
Hmm. Which
about
that may
testifying
not
about
have
documents.
even mattered because they weren't allowed to even talk about the
Yeah.
abuse
If they weren't allowed
anyway,
to talk about
but
the abuse at all, it wouldn't have mattered, I
dang.
would think.
Yeah.
But that is a thing.
I mean, that does make sense though. Like you can't just be like, "Oh yeah, you wrote me a letter."
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean,
Because you can make it up.
then what is it? Objection to hearsay. You know,
Yeah.
I know
Listen,
words.
when all else fails, hearsay.
I dabble in bird law, so I've got a
Yeah.
little bit
Well,
of it, you know.
they do hearsay there too, you know?
They talk a lot.
Well, I do.
But their attorneys think that they could be home by fucking Thanksgiving,
Seriously? That quick?
which is, I mean, incredible. It
Insane.
should be that quick because it's like,
I mean,
okay,
yeah.
but yeah, we've seen cases take like years to get
Yeah.
anything done, but
Yeah.
I mean, and not that this hasn't taken years. I've been in jail fucking 35 years, but
But now they've got
once
something
the ball
tangible that's
gets
like,
rolling.
yeah, I was gonna say something tangible that gets the ball rolling.
Yeah.
That would be a quick turnaround.
I yeah.
I hope that is for them. I hope it's a
Can
quick
we
turnaround.
This is something that I've thought about, and I'm not trying to be a weirdo,
Oh, I love it. Where are we
but
going?
just for marriage's
Uh-huh.
sake, they've been married for a long time to these women.
Uh-huh.
They're not allowed conjugal visits because they are life in prison with no
They're
parole.
lifers.
Can you imagine the sexual tension? Like,
Or
it's
what's
about to go
worse is
down.
what if you get out and there's no chemistry there?
Yikes. Well, they've been able to visit, right? So
Yeah, but like
sexual chemistry is
you,
different than just chemistry.
yeah, well, and there was also never a possibility.
Right.
Now all
Interesting.
bets are off.
Now, surely these women understand the way of the world, and that first time is going to go by fast.
Oh yeah.
You're going to have to give it a few times to get
Maybe
it
they,
right.
yeah. Ugh, these are things I hadn't really thought about.
I don't know why I thought it, but I'm just like they've been married for a long time because
Yeah.
I knew that they had gotten married. I remember when they got married and I remember thinking, "What the fuck? That's so stupid." And like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And whatever. And I also, back in the I'm a 90s kid. I thought they were guilty as shit. I mean, technically they're guilty, but I thought they
Yeah.
were like I believed the spoiled brats. They killed their parents. Fuck
Yeah.
them. All the SNLs making fun of them. I was like, haha, whatever. I didn't care.
Yeah.
So I believed all that. So when I heard that they got married, I was like, why would you marry somebody who clearly is like a fucking psychopath killer?
Ted Bundy,
I know, which does
Charles
happen.
Manson, which I don't, Charles Manson was never married, was he? No,
I
he did.
Did
I
he?
think he did get married later on. He at least had girlfriends. That's all I'm saying. Like,
What a wild-eyed fucking
he had crazy eyes.
very crazy. Like, like his state of being was just like, oh God.
He
Don't
was
let
in
him
a
look at you.
he was in a perpetual state of a jump scare, just at all times.
And some women are like, that's hot.
Give it to me. No,
Yikes.
I would be like, you can't, please don't look me in the eyes ever,
Don't
ever.
make
Don't
your
look in my
expect.
direction.
No, it's so weird.
Ugh.
Yeah, but I remember when
Yuck.
they got married, I'm like, so I Googled, are they still married? Because it's been obvious that they weren't going to get out of prison. Like it just did
Yeah.
not seem like that was going to happen. So I kind of assumed that those women, like, okay, this,
Yeah. I don't
whether or
want to
not
have a partner that
I
is
can't,
never here.
yeah. Um, but they are still married.
Maybe
And
they've
so I'm
been in
like,
open relationships.
maybe, I don't know. But that's got to be some tension.
Yeah. Interesting. I would like to see a not I don't want the OnlyFans reunion. I don't want that one. I don't want that tape. But
Send us
like
the tape.
I don't want that tape. Listen, we're not doing a Kim K situation.
No, no, no.
Although, listen, the way that these adult platforms have been making offers to people in the media lately, they might
That's true.
they
Pole
might
vault
get a
guy.
shot.
Yeah.
Pole vault guy, other Olympics guy, people. I don't know. They're not making offers to me. I know that. Um,
That
not that I've like sent in a resume or anything. So to be fair,
your
they don't know
offer
about
will
me.
come. It's just
I
not here
know.
yet. Yeah.
Listen, we're gonna talk about this multiple times and we're gonna like fuck around and get them as a sponsor on accident. How funny would that be?
Whoopsie.
So sorry. Just kidding.
Excuse. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh my
funny.
God. No, but I want to see like I would love to see a happy reunion with them, like of them to actually get to
Yeah, I
see
think
each
I'll
other and
cry.
like you know what I
Surely the
mean?
media is gonna be there. Like, yeah,
Oh, 100%.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that I'll cry because like and that's where I'm confused. Where all of these people who are like because they remember the news that they read in 1996.
Yeah.
And they're like, why would you let them out? This is terrible. People just letting murderers out just because it's fun or popular or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like,
So fun.
that's like, these were kids who were horrifically abused. Even the prosecutor in the case, her name's Pam something, I forget her last name. And she was in the Netflix documentary thing that just came out or whatever. She said, in her own words, she said, the fact that Jose Menendez has been removed from this earth is a plus for society. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, well, and whenever you talked about the guy from Menudo coming, like piping up and saying this, he's just the one person who's spoken outside of his kids. Like, this is one person that's spoken up. And if he was bold enough to do it to him, who's to say how many other people are out there?
mhm,
You know what I mean? And then, especially, why would they come forward if they see what happens to the kids? Well,
exactly.
you're not allowed to talk about the abuse. Well,
Yeah,
then there's no point in me talking because that's all I have to talk to you about. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And not only like the legal perspective of that, but the public perspective of that,
yeah.
where
Again, we're talking about the early 90s.
it was a running joke.
Yeah, exactly. So we
Yeah,
did
why would
nothing
you?
to encourage others to feel confident about stepping forward and reporting abuse.
No, I mean, honestly, society, like,
Trash.
we suck. Because we're like,
We're pretty terrible.
women should be able to report abuse, but men don't get abused. What are you, a sissy? Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? Like,
Yeah.
come on. It happens to both men and women. It happens at different rates, but it happens.
It does.
Like,
Absolutely.
it's just insane that we would take that and make it such a spectacle and then wonder why. Because
Yeah.
like you said, there are other victims. I mean, look at
Yeah.
fucking Diddy. Like, this guy was in a position of power in the
Mm-hmm.
music industry.
Yep.
There's you can't make me believe that there was not more.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. And I imagine we'll have to do a Diddy quickie periodically too, because
Good Lord.
what a mess. But
There's like what,
that's
600
for
new
another
lawsuits?
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely will. So at the time of recording, this has been made a recommendation, so we don't know what will come of it, but I
But I'm
think next week they're
hopeful. I'm
supposed to do
hopeful for them.
something.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm
I could,
hopeful.
yeah,
I'm
me too.
hopeful for them
Me
that
too.
I did see that if this goes through, they would immediately be eligible for parole.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because what they're recommending is resentencing from life with no parole to life with parole,
right.
which would typically be 50 years to life, but because they were so young when it happened, they would be
So,
eligible for the California youth
yeah.
parole something. So yeah,
Hmm.
they'd be
They'd
essentially
be
able
eligible
to,
now.
yeah, walk out.
Yeah.
So,
And that'd
and
be
I think it's also
great.
very telling that both sides of their family are in support, you know?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like with this one there's been any friction of no one's come out and been like, they're making this up. Like, not one person has come out in defense of their dad or their parents, really. Like,
Nope.
the general consensus is it sucks the way this went down, but we're all better off for it. So,
I mean, yeah. If they had been arrested for the abuse of their children, they would be having a real rough go of it in jail.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Prison
so
rules.
I don't know. And this is why I say too, like, yes, we cover a lot of murders, and you never want to victim shame, victim blame, anything like that.
Yeah.
But there are assholes that get murdered. There just are. There are
Oh,
horrible
100%.
people that get
Yeah.
murdered, and this is one of those cases.
Yeah. And not that it's not bad because obviously it's a human life, right? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like, at least for me, and I would think most normal people, there's like a base level of respect and decency for every other human in some capacity simply because they are a human being. And I know what it's like to be one of those, right? I know how easy it is to be a really shitty person sometimes. I mean, not that shitty, but you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I know how much work it takes to be a good person. And so, like, I try to give people some grace, but like, some people suck. And I just don't have I've got nothing
Yeah,
for them. And
yeah.
he's one of them.
Sucks to suck. Yeah,
Yeah.
like uh,
Too bad, so sad.
sometimes that's not the right consequence necessarily, but there are consequences.
Yeah. Well, what is it they say? You fuck around and find out.
And they kind of did, didn't they?
They did a little bit. Not that,
Not the right thing to do. We're not condoning it,
not
but
condoning.
that's how it played out.
Yeah.
So,
But we'll see how this plays out for them, though. I'm
yeah,
hopeful. And we'll give you another update, right, when it comes out.
we'll
Once we
do
know
it.
more.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll show you lovely reunion videos, not
Yeah, not,
adult ones.
no. I'm just hoping everything works out,
That's
you know?
exactly. I just want what's best for everyone, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Harmony, peace, love,
Exactly.
rainbows and glitter and unicorns and stuff.
All the things.
Yeah. Well, until next time,
Bye.
bye.